The biggest cyber attack in healthcare history just happened, and somehow no one even knows about it. Buckle up, because I'm not gonna just tell you of how problematic this is for the entire industry, but it'll also blow your mind as to how this hack and others like it are literally killing people. Huge thanks to Bitdefender for sponsoring this video. Imagine this, you're riding your bike to your favorite coffee shop. You've been looking forward to catching up with an old friend all week. Everything is going your way until out of nowhere, a neighborhood dog runs directly in your path. You swerve frantically and get tossed clear off the bike, landing hard on your back, right on the unforgiving pavement. You try to slowly gather yourself and roll onto your side, but you scream out as a lightning bolt of pain shoots down your spine. That can't be good. Better stay put. So you reach into your pocket, grab your phone, dial 911. They pull up minutes later and leap out with a backboard and a C-spine stabilizer. With a lot of help and even more shooting pain, you're able to get to the ER. When you get there, you notice the waiting room is absolutely stuffed with people. What is going on? It's 1 p.m. on a Thursday. How are there this many emergencies? Are they short-staffed? Was there a huge accident or something? Your back pings you with one more lightning bolt of pain and you wince out loud. An hour passes, 2 hours pass, 3. You can't believe the low level of care that's being offered to you. Why can't they do better than this? Long wait times can be caused by a million different things. But in this case, believe it or not, that wait was caused by computer hackers. Hackers? How in the world is that possible? Strangely, healthcare is by far the most susceptible industry in the US to cyber attacks. It may not be targeted as much as, let's say, financial institutions, but the success rate is far higher. In fact, over 90% of healthcare organizations had dealt with data breaches in recent years. That's almost every single one. This includes nationwide hospitals, single doctor practices, health insurance companies, and even pharmacies. And the number of attacks has increased every year since 2018, so this isn't even getting better. Most of these data breaches, about 70%, have come in the form of ransomware, a type of malicious software that encrypts your data, usually until a sum of money is paid to the hackers. However, being you're dealing with criminals, there are actually no guarantees that they'll back off once you pay up. Sometimes they will increase their demands or simply leave everything locked and disappear with all the money. It may be helpful to know that generally the FBI discourages cyber attack victims from paying ransom because it actually incentivizes hackers to keep hacking. Healthcare organizations that have been targeted usually end up forking over the money because the stakes there are so incredibly high. It's really a matter of life and death. The stark reality is that when hospitals are attacked, it can be so debilitating that they're forced to shut down for weeks on end. That's because the hacks usually lock access to electronic health records and all the patient information stored within them, medication allergies, previous diagnoses, lab results, x-rays, and so many more. This has terrible consequences. Significantly extended stays, medication mix-ups, canceled surgeries, and having to redirect ER patients, drastically increasing ER times. Yeah, that was you in our earlier hypothetical. Worst of all, ransomware attacks can absolutely result in death. Let me say that again. Ransomware attacks can absolutely result in death. A 2021 study found that following a ransomware attack, mortality rates increased at 25% of the hospitals they surveyed. When you limit a hospital's speed, efficiency, and access to critical patient data, patients end up suffering. In fact, John Riggy, cybersecurity specialist for the American Hospital Association, suggests that we need to start viewing these attacks not as financial crimes, but as threat to life crimes. As I mentioned earlier, this problem has been bubbling up for some time, but earlier this year, February to be exact, we unfortunately suffered the largest healthcare cyber attack in history. And here's the thing, it wasn't even a hospital that was attacked, nor an insurance company or a pharmacy, but it still brought all these industries to their knees. How's that possible? Well, the hackers basically attacked the glue that exists between the entire industry. Let me explain. Imagine healthcare in the United States is a play or a movie. There are a ton of collaboration needed to make it work. This massive cyber attack targeted the backstage crew, all the people who largely go unseen behind the scenes, but have a massive impact on the final result. In this scenario, the backstage crew was a company called Change Healthcare, owned by United Health Group. In a nutshell, Change Healthcare provides tech that handles critical aspects like billing and transfer of data. What does that mean? Well, let's go back to that emergency room story for a moment where you fell off your bike. You eventually get seen by a doctor and tell him the whole story of the accident. The treatment plan may have included x-rays, MRIs, painkillers, surgery, all the above maybe. For each of these things, the hospital would have essentially pinged your insurance company using Change Healthcare technology in order to confirm coverage and get prior authorization. However, if Change Healthcare were to be offline due to a cyber attack, either you would have to pay 100% out of pocket for your care, or the hospital would be forced to add your care to a massive backlog of unpaid insurance bills. It should be said that Change Healthcare hack didn't affect 100% of patients in the US, but it's estimated to have affected 1 out of 3 patients. That's 15 billion claims.
Change Healthcare was the middleman for tens of millions of insurance claims every day. So that means virtually everyone in healthcare is being touched by this directly because they're waiting to get paid.
No exaggeration here. The hack was costing medical providers up to $100 million daily. While hospital systems were slightly better equipped to handle that because of deeper pockets, smaller practices had to seek out loans in order to keep the doors open. If doctors can't collect money from insurers, it becomes far more difficult or even impossible to cover basic expenses like salaries, rent, bills, or even critical supplies like life-saving medications. Time out. The healthcare industry is clearly susceptible to hacks, but you don't need to be a national healthcare company to get targeted by cyber criminals. Individuals and small businesses are targets of cyber hacking every day. That's why I'm so grateful to be able to tell you about this video's sponsor, Bitdefender, a global leader in cybersecurity. They provide protection across all devices on Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android for individuals like you and your family, all the way up to multinational corporations, including healthcare organizations like the ones in this video. They help protect against identity theft, offer a robust password manager, and even have a number of parental tools to help keep kids safe online, which after the conversation I had with the FBI in my podcast, I think is more important than ever. They've actually built 32 free tools to help you fight ransomware that have helped avert $1.6 billion of ransom payments. And while I know the team at Bitdefender is working day and night to keep devices safe, what gives them an edge is that for the last 16 years, they have leaned hard into AI and machine learning to scale their protection to unprecedented levels. Their systems review 50 billion queries a day and catch 400 cyber threats every minute. That being said, there's a lot of competition in the industry when it comes to cybersecurity, but the experts have spoken. Over the last decade, Bitdefender has won 5 Cybersecurity Product of the Year awards. 5 championships in 10 years? Sounds like a dynasty. Click the link in the description to get started with Bitdefender to protect you and your devices. All right, let's get back to the story and some important tips of how to keep your healthcare info safe. One of the more or less talked about aspects of these healthcare cyber attacks is the theft of patient health data. Believe it or not, a stolen medical record can bring in a lot more money than a stolen credit card number. That's partly because medical information can't be canceled or changed like a card can, and records can be used to commit healthcare fraud, which honestly is relatively easy to get away with. The healthcare organizations that would detect fraud, insurers mainly, aren't exactly on top of it. Think about it. Your credit card company probably sends you fraud detection alerts anytime you travel or spend more than usual. And there are plenty of credit monitoring apps to help you stay on top of your purchasing activity. But health insurance companies aren't doing these things. After the Change hack, United Health said screenshots of stolen files containing patient data had been posted on the dark web. How did hackers steal a purported 6 terabytes of patient data? If Change Healthcare was such a critical player in our medical system, surely it had airtight security, right? Nope, absolutely not. In fact, it's completely possible that you routinely use higher security standards when logging into the Starbucks app on your phone. That is, if you have 2-factor authentication enabled. For those who aren't familiar, 2-factor authentication requires that you have more than just a password in order to log in. That could be an answer to a security question, a code sent to your phone, or facial recognition, among other things. But Change Healthcare only required a measly password to gain entry and wreak havoc on our system. Andrew Whitty, United Health CEO, testified at a Senate hearing that he was deeply, deeply sorry for the attack and expressed frustration upon learning that Change Healthcare did not have better security in place at the time. This is certainly an uncomfortable acceptable trend throughout the entire healthcare industry. It's not nearly as secure as it should be, especially when compared to other industries like banking. Sometimes this can boil down to limited resources. Hospitals, especially the smaller ones, often have to prioritize things like medical equipment over cybersecurity. So here we are. This video is being filmed in June 2024. The dust has mostly settled from the Change Healthcare hack, although we can't be certain about the status of the stolen information. United Health CEO claims that they basically rebuilt Change Healthcare from scratch, so there are no elements of the old attacked environment. He did admit that they paid a ransom of about $22 million worth of Bitcoin to the attackers, and we are hopefully working our way to a more secure healthcare system as a whole. But where does that leave you? Assuming you're not a hospital administrator, government official, or cybersecurity expert, is there anything you can do to minimize these cyber attacks? Well, quite possibly, especially if you use a wireless medical device. A huge concern with cyber attacks on healthcare is something called an IoT attack, or Internet of Things attack. It's also referred to as a device hack, when hackers break into a device on the hospital's network. Today, many medical devices that we use are wireless: pacemakers, IV pumps, ultrasounds, medication dispensers. The list just truly goes on and on. If they got into the wrong hands, remotely controlled devices can go from life-saving tools to life-ending ones. Hackers can do things like disable devices entirely, drain their batteries, change information displayed on their screens, and reprogram them to administer different medication doses, or even emit dangerous electric shocks. It's like straight out of a horror movie. It took some convincing for the healthcare industry to acknowledge how big of a threat these device hacks truly are. But in 2011, one security expert provided irrefutable evidence at a conference when he remotely disabled his own insulin pump. So again, what could be done to prevent these device attacks, both on the hospital end and on yours? Well, two common vulnerabilities in medical devices that are theoretically possible for hospitals to address are: one, default passwords that are way too easy to figure out, and two, default privacy settings that are far too lax. And as a simple first step, hospital IT departments should start requiring multi-factor authentication to log into any connected device. For you, experts recommend contacting healthcare providers or facilities at the first sign of anything suspicious, like unusual changes in data displays. Also, it's ideal to enable all notifications from healthcare systems so that if there is a breach, you'll know right away and can take action to stay safe. And for the love of God, update your software, because the longer outdated software is used, the more time hackers have to identify security holes and exploit them. Speaking of hacks, here's one health hack from every medical specialty. Some super useful stuff in here. As always, stay happy and healthy.